Yes.
I've been waiting all day for a Sunday night. Lucky for you, I'm not even trying to be a singer. What I am is a sports fan, and it's Sunday night. And 3 years ago, I might be at Cafe 290 Sports Bar in Atlanta. I could listen to some good music if I was there. I could watch some football if I was there. But Cafe 290, the legendary jazz club that was open for 40 years, closed in May 2021. I'm Adrianne Murchison, and this is my love letter, my ode to Cafe 290. And this is a mini series, a limited series. And in this first episode, I have some really great, fun conversation with owner John Scatena and Joe Gransden, who performed at Cafe 290 with his big band on the first and third Monday of the month for 11 years. There are so many longtime musicians who performed at Cafe 290. Among them, Gary Harris. Sunday night was his jazz jam session, where if people had to go to work the next day, so many people around Metro Atlanta, they were still going to Cafe 290 to get some good music, to get a little extra boost, a little extra rejuvenation, inspiration musically before they started their week. Oh my gosh, 290 meant so much to so many people. For me, I was introduced to it when I was a freshman in college, and it was a part of my early adulthood moving forward. I met boyfriends there that turned into long-term relationships, had breakups there, celebrated birthdays, my own. My grandmother, we celebrated her 90th birthday there in 2003. Ken Ford was the performer that night. He used to be there so often, would turn the place out like so many other musicians continue to do. There's just so much to say about Cafe 290. It was a place where if you were a music fan, if you loved live music and you lived here, or you were visiting Atlanta, just moved here, that was a place that you knew about or you were going to soon hear about. It was known as a jazz club, but you could hear classical jazz, modern jazz, hip hop, funk, swing. What am I forgetting? R&B on any given night, although it was primarily known as a jazz club. There was so much you could get in an experience at Cafe 290, and we're going to talk about it in this limited series. Gosh, I said that I met boyfriends there. Well, Mo and Amanda, if you know the place, you know those two bartenders. They met when he was bartending, and she just happened to be there one night in 1998, came in there for a drink, saw the love of her life, and started working there. I have some words from Amanda, and she speaks to the power of Cafe 290. Amanda says she was just a customer who happened to come in. And back then in 1998, the place was insanely busy. Lines would be wrapped around the building. After just a few weeks of dating, she says, I was just hanging out at the bar, watching my new boyfriend work, she says, and John needed a hostess for the evening. She said she fell in love with the place that night. She says, I had never worked in any kind of restaurant or bar, and I loved the chaos of it all. Her very first night, Charles Barkley and Montel Jordan came in, and she was hooked. After helping out as a hostess for a few weeks, John moved her over to the door to cover the cover charges as people came in. And she did that for a while. She quit her job, and then she just fell in love with Maurice and the jazz club. Then one day, a bartender called in sick, and John asked her once again, could she help out, and asked her to bartend. She had never made a drink before. but she caught on pretty quickly, and the rest is history. Amanda says, I loved it so much. I was working with my then boyfriend, now husband, and both of them were making tons of money. It was the best thing that had ever happened to 21-year-old Amanda. 21 years later, they're both still working there. They got married and they had a small wedding with just a few friends, but their reception was at Cafe 290. A few friends had turned the place into just a haven, just a beautiful, beautiful atmosphere, she says, where they decorated it with flowers and photos of Amanda and Maurice. 200 friends were there. Amanda says it was hands down one of the greatest nights of her life. I think most of my memories of 290 consist of lifelong friendships, she says. Not the work, not the celebrities, but the coworkers who turned into friends, who then turned into family. And working there, you get so much insight into the musicians and obviously just the inner workings of the place. Cafe 290 was to me something that I know was so true for so many people. It could be a place of refuge. I might go there and go to the sports bar and hang out with Jazz and just, have some drinks, good conversation, have some good laughs and fun. People are playing pool, just watching whatever game is on the TV. Or, I could be on the other side, listening to the music, hanging out, laughing, talking to people at the bar, longtime friends that I met at Cafe 290, checking whatever I'm dealing with at the door, whether it was something going on with work, something going on with family, dealing with a sick family member, stress, just all kinds of things. Check them at the door, come in there, have just some really good conversation, and above all, superb music. That place had such a sound, such a great sound. And Joe Gransden will talk about why. Very simple when he shares it, but nevertheless, that place had really great sound. You got spoiled there. You go somewhere else and you think, not the same at all. So we're going to get to it. This is my love letter to Cafe 290. There is more to come, but for now, here is John Scatena and Joe Gransden.
Monday night in America, I don't think there's better music being played than right here at Cafe 290. I'm serious.
Titus, the most perfect band I've ever heard. I swear, every time I come here, I hear something great. And the record is sensational.
I can't stop loving you.
Cafe 290 meant a lot to people all over, not just in this area. That was one of the great things about it, I think.
Oh, yeah. So many people see me on the streets today and just relive the Cafe 290 experience.
How much do you guys miss it?
Well, I miss it a lot, just the interaction with all the great musicians and friends and customers and the music.
Yeah.
I mean, I was blessed. I got to go somewhere every day where I heard great music and great musicians.
I miss it every day. So does my band, actually. I'll get texts from them. I got a text the other night from Lee Watts, my bass trombone player, and he said, I was heading to a gig, It was a Monday night, and I actually got off the exit for 290 thinking I was going to 290 to play with your big band.
Wow.
I mean, we did, just that particular gig was 11 years, twice a month. Yeah.
And that was just an incredible experience. When I talk to people today and they bring up Cafe 290, I mean, they always just say, and you had Joe Gransden and that 17-piece big band. I mean, the greatest show in the country. I mean, it was the greatest bargain in the country.
It sure was.
To hear all that great music and
But I know that the people who would come because it was packed, they must really miss it the most.
They do. They do. I'm always getting emails and texts and little Facebook messages where, where's your next home going to be? Where's the big band going to be? And we do have a gig once a month at a wonderful venue. It can't compare to what we had at Cafe 290. That was our home base.
Right.
That's where not only could we invite friends and family and new fans, but we can invite potential clients that wanted to hire us for an event or a party. They could come and have dinner at Cafe 290, hear the show, and usually it would seal the gig right away.
Right.
So, and that's only, I mean, that was an 11-year run, but that's only a small, that's just a fraction of the life of Cafe 290. Even the portion that I was involved with the club as far as being a musician playing there goes way back into the early 90s for me.
Mm-hmm. How did you two meet?
well, of course, being a jazz club, Joe started playing there. I think it was a jam session. Used to come to the jam sessions.
Yeah, I was in college. I had transferred from New York to Atlanta, and I was in college, and everybody kept talking about this Monday night jazz jam session at Atlanta's top jazz club, and I lived in Roswell at the time, so it wasn't too far.
Right.
And Bill Norman, great drummer, was the leader of the session, and I went down there, and I was a little young and green, but I sat in and played a little bit, and I remember I met Johnny, and just a quick hello, and nice to meet you, and within weeks I moved to New York City, back to New York City, and when I came back 2 years later, now I was 23 years old, and I was a professional musician. Well, Bill Norman still had that jam session, and I went every single Monday night, and Johnny and I became friends at that point.
You were performing, or you went to see them every Monday night?
I went to see the jam session, but, being a jam session, they let musicians play, so I would always bring my horn, I would learn a new song, and that's how I started putting my band together. I would meet musicians like Neil Starkey and whoever it might be, these great musicians, and we'd become friends at this gathering place for musicians at Cafe 290, so it was a very... almost like a networking experience for a lot of us as well. Really, really enjoyable.
And so I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit, but you got close, and then the Clint Eastwood tie comes in there at some point.
Well, Joe's got so many great Clint Eastwood stories. I mean,
Well,
we can make a show out of that.
I know. Wasn't that inspired by you encouraging Joe to send a...
Well, no, we had become friends, and I was a big fan of his trumpet playing, and he wasn't singing at that time, if I recall.
Right.
He was just playing trumpet.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And then he said he was going to start singing, and I thought that was a great idea,
No, he didn't. He laughed.
And we just got to talking, and we said, we've known each other for quite a while now, but we're not doing anything together. And I said, oh, that's right, let's do something together. He said, well, I have this idea I always wanted a big band.
Yeah.
And I said, well, that sounds good. And he said, but there's 17 pieces, including me, in the group. I said, wow, I think we have enough room on the stage. Mm-hmm. And we just got to talking about it, and he said, well, then we'd have to do it on a Monday night.
Yeah.
Because all my musicians are busy as the week goes on, and of course the weekends. I said, well, we can do it on a Monday night. So we just kept bringing up all these positives. And just said, well, let's give it a try. And Joe says, well, what if nobody shows up? I said, well, I guess we'll find out.
Right.
And it was a hit from the very first night. Mm-hmm. It was incredible.
Right.
And the magic started then. And it just got better and better and better over the years.
I actually knew it was going to work. I knew when I came to Johnny with that idea that Cafe 290 was the right place because of the size of the club and the reputation it had for being one of the top jazz clubs in the country. I knew it would work. There wasn't really any big bands at the time in Atlanta. I was just starting to become a little bit busy on the scene here, so I had a little bit of a name that could draw a small crowd, you know?
Yeah.
And I said, if I could just get those folks to come and start talking about this, it'll work. In fact, at the beginning, we were thinking of just one Monday night a month. And it went so well, we increased it to twice a month.
Yeah.
But it was packed. WCLK radio would come out and
Right.
broadcast it live, and musicians would come to the Punchline next door, you know, famous acts, and they might stick around on a Monday so they could hear the show. Now that I look back, it was kind of a dream.
Right.
We had something really special. We had Wes Funderburg. He would write maybe 2 and 3 arrangements for every show, because when we started, we had nothing. We had no charts. We had stock charts that everybody had heard before from Glenn Miller and Count Basie and Tommy Dorsey. So we had that to start with, but I wanted the band to have its own sound.
Yeah.
So Wes started writing, and I would go to his house, and we would spend hours coming up with ideas for tunes and keys, and it just kept growing. And every time people would come, they'd hear another 3 or 4 arrangements, and it just continued to grow.
Yeah.
Just awesome.
Wow.
Just
It
awesome.
was always fresh.
It was always fresh, yeah.
Well, let's rewind for a second. Cafe 290 opened in 1981.
Right.
And was that your brother? That's what I had been told. Is that right? Or who did
No.
you opened it?
Yeah, I opened it. My brother was with me for a while.
Okay.
But it had been around since about 1981, and I came by in the early 90s. And just happened to go in there and met the owners, and I don't know, we got in a discussion. They said they'd be interested in selling the club.
Oh, okay.
And I got to thinking, I was in the hotel business.
Really?
I was just getting out of the hotel business and wanted to get into the music business. So we negotiated a deal, and that's how it started.
Yeah.
The early 90s, and I had the idea for it to be a jazz club, because Atlanta just had a plethora of great musicians, but not really a lot of places to play.
Roswell Road over in that area, wasn't it kind of happening at that time?
Well, it was happening. The Punchline Comedy Club was right next door, and that was a big plus.
Yeah.
And so that combination of comedy club, jazz club was just a natural beauty.
What are some of your memories, your favorite memories when you look back? I mean, I can think of people like Julius Irving. I remember him coming in there.
Dr. Irving, all the time.
I mentioned Clint Eastwood. I know I've seen photos of him in there with you all.
Well, yeah, Clint Eastwood came by as a result of Joe. Joe was friends with Clint prior to us meeting. And so every time he would come into town for a movie, he would hang out at Cafe 290, which was a great thrill.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
a lot of fun. And then Joe would go out there and visit Clint at Carmel, and then he invited me a couple of times, and we just all got to be pretty good friends. And
What are some of your favorite memories just of the club in general?
oh, well, certainly Clint Eastwood was a big one. Tyler Perry,
Yeah.
that was kind of interesting. I just happened to meet him one day he knocked at the door at the club. and I think it was on a Sunday, and said, hey, I'm Tyler Perry, and I understand you have a lot of great musicians playing at this club. I said, I do. And I said, in fact, we have a jam session tonight. You know. He said, oh, that's great. He said, do you mind if I come by? I said, sure. He says, I'm getting ready to do a play in Atlanta. That was his first Medea.
Yes. Yes.
And he said, but I need musicians. And I said, well, I got a lot of them, and they're great. And that's the way it worked out. He came in, and basically he hired all my musicians. And in fact, he hired his music director, Ronnie Garrett.
Oh, okay.
And still today, Ronnie is Tyler's music director.
At one time, there was a music studio upstairs.
I built a recording studio. It's called Studio 290.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
and we had a lot of great musicians come through there. It just got to be a tough business, the record business.
Right.
You're almost better off going to another studio.
But just the vibe of the place, having, I met some of your good friends there, just having a place where you can enjoy the atmosphere and relax and have good food and drink. That had to be really nice.
Oh, it was. And then you add...
And it's yours.
Yes. And then if you add to that the great music, it was a home run.
Right.
And that's how everybody felt. And I had so many consistent repeat customers. Mm-hmm. I mean, you just were there all the time.
Definitely. This friend over here across the room, Ron, we became good friends when I was bartending there.
Right.
And he's just one of the good friends that I made. And that was 20 years ago almost.
You were a bartender there?
Yeah.
Did I know that?
And an aspiring writer.
Well,
journalist.
It must have worked because that's what I'm doing. Yeah. But yeah, that was the early 2000s. That was before I met you. Mm-hmm.
I'll take a vodka.
And yeah, those were some great days.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite memories was time I came in and Johnny had built a green room specifically for myself and for my band. We had so many wonderful people that would come to hear the show. Prior to the show starting, we would be getting our act together, figuring out what we're going to play, and just getting ready, maybe changing clothes from sound check. But there was no place to do that, so we would just kind of hang out in the sports bar. And then all the people that would come to hear us would come back to the sports bar to say hello. They'd want to get their picture taken with Wes or with whoever it might be.
Right.
And as exhilarating as that was, we couldn't just get any work done. In fact, I personally would talk to so many people before the show that when I went up there to sing, I almost had no voice left. So Johnny kind of saw our struggles and put this fantastic green room in there that was almost hidden. I mean, it was a door. You could see the door, but there was a poster over it for a long time.
Yeah.
And so we would have our sound check, and then at least myself and 4 or 5 guys could go in there. There was a bathroom in there. There was like a mirror. There was a small bar. There was 3 or 4 real comfortable chairs, and we could completely just get away for 30 minutes, figure out exactly what we're going to do with the show. I could figure out who I had to say hello to, who I might have to say happy anniversary to,
right,
happy birthday to, and it just gave us that 15 to 30 minutes of peace before we went out there. So that was an incredible memory, and that kind of turned the channels a little bit to make it even more positive for the big band. To have this little, it seems silly, but to have this little space, we could keep our horns in there, we could keep our equipment in there. You don't always get that in jazz clubs in cities. You might get it in all your performing arts centers, you get it in all your bigger venues, but sometimes the jazz clubs don't have a place for the musicians to go hide. And that was really important. So that I don't want to say, I said that's my favorite memory. That's a great memory.
Yeah.
Clint Eastwood come, and that was really cool too. I remember he called and he said, I'm going to come to your show tonight. And I said, great. I'll make sure Johnny's got a nice spot for you. And I tried to be real cool and laid back about it. But as soon as we hung up, I called Johnny. And I said, Johnny, we got to figure out a way that Clint does not get basically attacked by all these people when they see him, because they love the guy, right?
Right.
And Johnny picked a table out up front, and I said, you know what we'll do? Let's just not even tell anybody he's coming. I won't even tell the band. Let's just not even say anything. And so we were singing. I was singing the first song of the night, and I looked up and I saw him walk in with his 4 or 5 people, and I didn't say a word. And he just walked. Johnny walked him right through the crowd.
He gave me the high sign.
Yeah, I said, Johnny, he's here. Johnny brought him right to the front. He sat down with his people, and nobody really knew. And then slowly, you'd see people kind of looking over there. And
well, he's so tall. He stood up as he walked through. You know?
It was really cool. He enjoyed that first set. And then on the break, we take an intermission. I made the mistake of going right over to his table to sit with him. And then so people kind of saw me, instead of going to the green room, just walk right over. And then there he is, right? So then they all started. But it was he had such a great time, man. He loved the band. He loved the club. That was a real special moment for sure.
And you had a Frank Sinatra project, didn't you, for his 100th birthday?
Yeah, we did a CD back when people were recording CDs. We did a recording of Sinatra favorites.
Yeah.
And we called it Songs of Sinatra and Friends. And so we had that CD done and produced and finished, and we kind of tied it in with his 100th birthday.
Yeah.
And so we had a big show at Cafe 290, which was very, very, very successful.
I remember that.
Do you?
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. We actually had some of the arrangements that he recorded, the exact pieces of paper.
Really?
With the rips in them or the little notes where Frank sings and all that. A couple friends of mine in the business sent them to us.
Really?
And then we had some new ones written for us, but it was really just a tribute to Old Blue Eyes. You know what I mean? That was fun for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, that was incredible.
And I had to make sure I told the crowd that I was not trying to impersonate Frank Sinatra, because that would be impossible, because he's the greatest. But we just wanted to pay tribute to him and sing his songs and play that music.
The slogan or the saying, "It's a beautiful thing," you mentioned it earlier. Is that a saying of yours, right?
That was a saying that I always used, and Joe picked it up, and his dad picked it up, and they wrote a song about it.
Oh, wow.
It's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
It's a great phrase that Johnny would say, even when things were going south. The bartender would come over, "Johnny, we're out of vodka. Johnny, we're out of this, but the place would be packed."
Right.
Johnny would say, "Look around. It's a beautiful thing. They can have gin. Don't worry about it." So he would say it all the time. And we put it into this song. My father wrote this beautiful song. I helped out a little bit. We wrote some nice lyrics. It became the title of the record that we did live at Cafe 290. It's on our shirts, our Cafe 290 shirts.
Oh, my.
And it's a wonderful little phrase, isn't it? And Johnny can do it. Watch this. Johnny, give us one. It's a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing.
You'll take a big chance. You'll even try to dance when you fall in love. Hey, the music will play. Your body's gonna sway when you fall in love. There's no better time. You're drinking fine wine when you fall in love. You're on gossamer's wing, your heart's gonna sing. It's a beautiful thing.
He's got another one,
Yeah.
What's the other one?
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
My little boy says, "Hey, Uncle Johnny always says, phenomenal." Takes him 12 seconds to say that word.
Oh, my.
And that live album it still is incredible. When we put everything on these albums on Cafe 290 Records. So it's a beautiful tie-in. And when we did the live album, Joe had brought in specific engineers to do the job. And we just told him, we want you to make this sound like Sinatra's live at the Sands.
Yeah.
And take it from there. And they did.
Yeah, Ken Gregory,
right.
It was incredible. He brought microphones, put them all over Cafe 290. So not just the band, but in the back. So when you hear that record, which took place over the course of 2 nights, we tied it into one. It's actually a double album if you buy the vinyl portion of it.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. You can hear the plates clinking and the glasses clinking and the ice and the people kind of chattering in the background. And it's so live and so perfect. It's such a thrill. It's still my favorite recording that I've ever made. It took a lot of editing. It took a lot of time to actually turn it into a project. When you listen to it, it sounds like we started at the very beginning and we did an hour and a half and then the show was over. But because of all the applause and all the, just the different things that happened over the course of 2 nights, the editing process was pretty intense. But Ken Gregory, one of the best in the business, did a great job.
Oh, my. And so is that available on, like, Apple Music or?
Yeah, it sure is.
That's wonderful.
And I think you could still, we press the vinyls, we press the,
It's platinum about right now, isn't
it's
it?
platinum. Yeah, Johnny's got 4,000 of them in his garage. It was fun. It was fun having a vinyl record.
I know.
But it was cool, too, because they took 2 or 3 of the songs off that record, went to Sirius XM Radio, Sinatra station, and also the Channel 67, the jazz station, Seriously Jazz, I guess it's called. And they played 2 or 3 songs from that record still, because that record's 2012 maybe. And it kind of helped you know, it really got Cafe 290 out there.
Right.
Even more so because that station is heard everywhere. You know?
Right, right.
The DJ will say, live at Cafe 290, and song. So sometimes, one time I was out there playing in a little golf tournament with Clint and his people, and a couple of people said, hey, tell me about this Cafe 290. Where is that?
Really?
You know, so that portion of it was really, really kind of neat.
The sound at Cafe 290 was great in general to me. I'm not a engineer, obviously,
You're right.
but I'm a real stickler for
And we hear that
how something sounds.
till today.
Yeah.
When Joe plays at other places or we're at other places listening to music, everybody says, well, the sound at Cafe 290 was so different. It just seemed like those walls had magic, you know,
Yeah.
and that ceiling had magic.
They did. I mean, it was a magical place. But I mean, the ceiling was low. There was lots of carpet to eat up a lot of the noise of a 17-piece big band, right?
I see.
It would also, at one point we changed our location of where we played, because the ceilings were low, the sound would come off the bandstand and just shoot towards the crowd. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you play in a bigger venue with tall ceilings, and the sound kind of goes up and reverberates. Nothing wrong with that, but it can be difficult with a band of this size. Is it 16, 15 horns reverberating throughout the room could be a lot.
A lot on you as a musician or
A
on
lot
the
on
audience?
the crowd's ears, a lot on the audience's ears to hear all that. So this,
Yeah.
we especially with the big band night, on big band nights we tried to be as acoustic as we could be. Obviously we had a vocal mic for myself and a couple solo mics.
Yeah.
And our friend Gary Harris, a great sound man, would
Yeah.
put the bass in the house a little bit. He'd put the keyboards in the house, of course. But that was really it. I mean, you know, you go to a lot of places and every single horn player is mic'd. And it's just, it loses its, you know, because Duke Ellington didn't mic every horn player, and Count Basie didn't mic every horn player, and Tommy Dorsey didn't mic every horn player. It was acoustic. It's acoustic music.
Yeah.
So Cafe 290 was set up in such a way that acoustic music was great. It was great in there. When we used to do the jam sessions on Mondays, when Bill Norman had his jam sessions, it was very acoustic. Just very, just a couple mics with a little bit of volume on them for the horn players, and
Yeah.
of course, if there was a singer, he or she would sing through a microphone. But it's always better when it's acoustic.
Who were some of the artists that performed with you? I know Francine Reed, and did Freddie Cole perform there at
Oh,
290
yeah.
with you?
Sure did.
Yeah.
We
In
used
fact,
to have we used to try to have a special guest every time we would play, as many times as we could. Sometimes it would be an instrumentalist. Most of the times it would be a female vocalist or a male vocalist. And Freddie Cole loved the band. In fact, Freddie had mentioned on a couple occasions recording with the band. He had charts written for him years prior, and he said, I have these big band charts. They were in his basement, you know, and he showed them to me at one point. So we had talked about maybe doing a recording together, which would have been a dream for me.
Yeah.
He loved the band, so he sang with us. The late great Teresa Hightower, we miss
Right.
her, of course. Horrible that she's not with us anymore, but she sang with us many occasions. Deb Bowman, Gwen Hughes, Joey Somerville,
Jennifer Holiday.
Jennifer Holiday.
Really?
She was our special guest.
I didn't
one
know
night.
that.
Right. That was a great night.
Actually, that went so well that she hired us to perform on her record. She recorded a song called The Song Is You, Great American Songbook Standard, and she hired Wes and Gary Motley Wes Funderburk and Gary Motley to write an arrangement that would feature my band with her singing, and it really came out beautifully. So that was because of her appearance at Cafe 290. She wasn't actually booked as a guest artist. She was there in the crowd seeing the show, and Johnny noticed her, and we all said hello, and I said, would you like to sing a song with us? She said, I'd love to. So through that, we became friends and got to be on her record.
Yeah.
But I'll probably forget some names. Who else joined us on stage? Melanie Massell, Tony Hightower, Tia Ricks, Johnny O'Neill sat in one night.
Joey Somerville.
Joey Somerville. I hate when I leave people out. But it became the type of gig that you wanted to be the special guest on it because you knew you were going to get the exposure, at least locally, that you deserved as an artist. You know?
Right.
So I would always get calls, hey, who do you got for next Monday? Can I be the special guest act? You know, and Jerry Farber would come up and open up for us and do some comedy and just kill it, man. But any Atlanta name act probably at one point jumped up on stage with us for sure.
Yeah.
It was a thrill.
So tell me your favorite song and your favorite song. You must have a song that you just love.
A song?
Yeah, just any song. As you're talking, I'm thinking of just
Oh boy, that's a
music.
great question. I have a lot of favorite songs, but one of my favorites is "What Are You Doing the Rest of Your Life?" Michel Legrand. It's a beautiful ballad, but there's just so many. There's so many wonderful Great American Songbook standards, tunes that I love. "My Way." I think that's a beautifully written song.
Yeah.
I love "It Was a Very Good Year" that Sinatra sang. There's just so many, Adrian. I can't even. Do you have one favorite, Johnny?
All the ones that I like. Mine, It's a Beautiful Thing.
Yeah. I will tell you that at Cafe 290 with the big band, the crowd, one of the crowd's favorites was Love for Sale, Cole Porter's Love for Sale.
Really?
Is it Cole Porter? If it's not Cole Porter, I apologize to those listening to that. But it was a arrangement that Buddy Rich and his band had recorded. We had it, and the crowd loved it. It really cooked. And sometimes it would be the opener.
Yeah.
Sometimes in the middle of the set, the band would just cut loose on that. So that was a favorite for those Monday night shows for sure.
Oh, yeah. And then we started to bring in, Joe was instrumental in bringing in high school bands
Really?
to open up for his show on Monday nights. I mean, these are actual big bands in high school.
Right. Share some about that.
That became a thing too, because the band directors from even as far as Alabama would contact me. Hey, can we be your opening act at Cafe 290? We've heard about it. We've seen the videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
My friend Lee Watts, who plays bass trombone, I think I mentioned him earlier, and myself put together a jazz camp for kids. We called it Joe's Jazz Camp.
Right.
And very successful up until the beginning of COVID. And we would have these high school bands and middle school bands from around the Atlanta area play the first half hour. So they would play like 8 to 8:30, Cafe 290. The crowd would be coming in, or a lot of folks would already be there. These youngsters would get to play in a jazz club,
Right.
a real jazz club, in front of a real live audience that couldn't wait to hear music. So it was a thrill for those young musicians. And then they would leave the stage, and we'd take about a 10-minute break and switch the stage up, and then they would all sit down with their parents or with their families,
Right.
their band directors, and we would perform. So now they would get to hear professional musicians play this music.
Right.
It was a mutually gratifying experience. It was so cool. A lot of them would come to the jazz camp. So that was really cool.
That's so nice when younger people, high schoolers, are interested in classical jazz. I'm always inspired by that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am really inspired by the jazz education side of things, and how important it is for young musicians to hear professional musicians. You know, when I was a kid, my grandfather was a great trumpet player, and my father's a wonderful piano player. So I heard the music regularly, but they were my family. So I you know, even though I knew they were great, I wasn't impressed. Like, it wasn't like hearing Miles Davis live, but when my band director brought in a famous jazz trumpet player, classical trumpet player, and I heard that person live, it clicked in. So I was in 7th grade, and that person came, and he was our special guest artist. His name was Alan Vizzuti, and we had rehearsal with Alan Vizzuti.
Yeah.
And I was in the band, and I didn't want to be there because I was also a hockey player, and I had a game that night. And my father said, "You're not going to the hockey game. You have already committed to this band concert." And I, had a fit, but they forced me to go, and there I was in my 4th trumpet chair, and Alan Vizzuti came out and he played maybe 6 notes, 10 notes. I said, "That's what I'm doing the rest of my life." And
7th grade.
That's how quick it was. It might have been 6th grade. It was middle school, and it just something clicked. So I think it's important that the young musicians have a chance to hear professional musicians live. I mean, they have everything at their fingertips with YouTube and all these different, but live, to actually hear somebody and hear the sound coming out of a trombone or a trumpet the way it hopefully is supposed to be.
Right.
Can really make an impact on them. So that was kind of our goal with this Cafe 290 thing. In fact, we would require them to stay for the first set. Even though they had school Tuesday morning, they didn't have to stay till 11 o'clock at night or whatever it was, but just stay for the first 55 minutes.
Yeah.
You'll be out of there by 9:30, 9:45. You'll be home in bed by 10 or whatever it is. Listen to one set of the band. It was very cool.
Wow. What an impression that must have made.
Oh, it was just incredible.
Johnny loved it. He took up with the clarinet. He started playing klezmer music. He was really into it.
Well, Monday nights were just so popular. I mean, it was even the employees, they loved Monday nights. That was Jazz's favorite night. Jazz was our bartender
Right.
in the sports bar, and he just loved Monday nights.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't
It's
care
a
if I do
different
any
vibe.
business. I can't wait to get to work. And of course, Mo and Amanda.
Right.
That was one of their favorite nights.
Right.
But I just was so blessed with having great music on the weekends and even during the week. Mm-hmm. But
Yeah.
Monday was just so special.
It was.
And of course, Joe, it was just impossible to play every Monday.
Yeah.
So I think we did the first
First and third.
Mondays.
There was gosh, in the early 2000s I wrote a story on a musician, and he was in his 80s then, and he was there one night. I think he was from New York. I don't remember what. He used to play at North Lake Mall, where they would have like a dance there and live music.
Do you remember what he played? What instrument?
If you say it, it might ring a bell. I can't remember if it was piano or if it was a horn, but I do know that he had that gig there, and this was maybe like 2000 and early 2000s.
Wow, I want to know who that is. White guy, black guy?
White guy.
I was thinking Johnny Knapp, but Johnny Knapp.
That's who it was.
Johnny Knapp.
Johnny Knapp.
You're right.
Yeah,
piano
yeah,
player.
yeah.
We just lost him 3 or 4 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, he would come to Cafe 290 on our Monday nights
Yeah.
every time, pretty much. Him and Jim Basile, and they had a whole group of guys that would come out and hang out together. Johnny,
He was
one of the top piano players in the country for many years.
Oh yeah, he did a lot of shows on Broadway.
He did.
A lot of musicals.
Something very interesting about Johnny Knapp. His late wife, Dee Knapp, wonderful, very famous vocal coach from New York. She passed probably, if I had to guess, I'd say 2013. Mm-hmm. When I met them, when I first moved to town in the early 1990s, and I met Johnny Knapp, probably at Cafe 290 at Bill Norman's jam session, Dee Knapp was with him, and she started talking to me about where I'm from and where she's from, and because she knew I was from New York. It turns out that her high school sweetheart is my Uncle Eddie. Really, and they were high school sweethearts, and they were together for years. And I thought that was just such a crazy connection. And he was still alive, and I mentioned that to him at one point. Oh, how's Dee doing? What a small world. But she was great, man. I took a few vocal lessons from her, and
Wow.
and Johnny was fantastic.
Yeah.
No matter how crummy he was feeling, he'd come out to the jam sessions and to the gigs and support local musicians and sit in when he could. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's only been 2 years maybe since he's been gone, 2.5, something like that.
Yes, that's about right.
Wow. Well, so did the pandemic play a role in you deciding to close the club?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It was just an uphill battle,
Yeah.
and I just battled it for as long as I could.
Yeah. Well, you did reopen, which was
Got closed
good.
and then hung in there a couple nights a week,
Yeah.
and just didn't seem like there was any light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was a sad situation.
You didn't get a lot of help either from the
Right.
people that own that building.
But, everybody's got their reasons.
Did you come back and do the Monday nights?
No,
when
because
you
there
reopened?
was still a crowd factor.
Oh, yeah.
Couldn't have a crowd.
Yeah.
And then the seating arrangements.
Seating arrangements, the band, they
Oh,
didn't really want
right.
to sit right next to each other, and
Right.
it was difficult. I was there often with Johnny, hanging out, and
Yeah.
he gave it his all for sure, and the people that loved that place came when they could.
Yeah.
That was a time when there was just so many unknown factors about this thing.
Right.
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 It was
Yeah.
very, very, very tricky, very sad to see it go that direction.
And I still had some of the musicians that appeared on the weekends working with me, like William Green.
Yeah.
He was amazing.
Really.
He hung in there just about every weekend, and just tried everything he could with me to get it to
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
And like I said, Cafe 290 has a history of a a lot of great musicians.
Yeah, sure does.
I think you remember back in the beginning when I first started out was Octavia Jones. I don't know if you've heard that name or not.
Yeah.
And Octavia Jones was a great act. Larry Jackson, Sam Sims,
Oh, yeah. Sam Sims. Yep.
and Sonny Emery.
Mm-hmm.
And Mo Pleasure was the piano player on Michael Jackson's last video.
Oh, really?
He was one of the great musicians around at that time. Ken Ford
Right.
did a lot of shows.
Tony Red.
Tony Red, that's right. And Reggie Hines.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Always a great show with Reggie. And his unique saxophone style.
Yeah, what was his night? Was it Friday nights?
Usually Saturday.
Saturdays. Boy, he drew a crowd, man.
Yeah.
He'd get up on a stage.
Yep.
Well, yeah, he's quite an entertainer.
And there was another violinist in addition to Ken Ford who was there.
Gerald Damian.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, he
He was really popular too.
Yeah, he's from Detroit. Mm-hmm. Great. He had a big hit. I'm trying to think of the name of it, but it was just incredible. Michael Ward out of New Orleans used to come in, and of course the guy that wrote "Go Getta," Kipper Jones.
Kipper Jones.
Kipper Jones. What a great artist he was, and he still is, I'm sure.
I remember him
You wrote
too.
a song for me.
He did? What was
Oh,
it?
Go Getta.
Oh, what you have on your shirt.
And he wrote it.
Go Getta.
And he said, I think this should be featured by you and your big band. So, yeah, wrote the song. He and Wes wrote the big band arrangement. Our friend Gary Thompson helped produce it. And we went in the studio, and Kipper was standing right next to me in the vocal booth. And I would sing a line, and he would say, cut. And he said, no, Joe, you got to sing it more like
With
this,
soul.
a little bit more soul, a little bit of an R&B flair. And I would say, how do you do that? And he would show me, and the final product really, man, came out great. It's a great tune. Kenny G is playing a saxophone solo on it. My friend Kenny G, and Kipper knocked it out of the park. I wish that song would have caught on a little more in the mainstream whole deal.
But now that you're bringing it up, we can go find that song though and listen to it, right?
Yeah,
Go
man,
Getta.
it's a great
I
tune.
want to hear
Mhm.
it. Yeah.
Great
Yeah.
tune.
He wrote Kipper wrote the hit songs for Vanessa Williams.
Did he?
Basically, did all her hit songs,
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Kipper's
Brandy.
so talented.
and that's how we got on him writing a song for Joe.
I had no idea. I mean, I have vivid memories of watching him perform.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes those great artists, you don't realize that behind the scenes, man, they produce.
Exactly. And that's what I was thinking about Sam Sims, because I think he was an arranger or producer for Tony Red in addition to his own.
Oh, but he played
Career.
for
He was
many
great.
big stars.
Yeah.
What about
Yeah.
Sonny Emery?
Sonny
He
Emery.
played there back in the day many times.
Oh, yeah. In the early days, Sonny Emery and Sam played together. They had a band together.
Kenny G produced one of my records years ago, 2009, and he sent me a bunch of tracks that he said, put some Atlanta musicians on these or get these taken care of.
Yeah.
And it's more of a smooth jazz kind of R&B project that I didn't really know that side of the city that much as far as who to get and who not to get. And Trammell Starks was helping produce it, and he said, I'll take care of this, don't worry about it. And he sent one of the tracks to Sam Sims, and Sam put the bass on it, and then Trammell sent it to me, and I was like, oh, my God, who is that? He said, that's Sam Sims. He's the best, So I can say I recorded with Sam Sims, even though I wasn't there at the same time. He's on my record. I could play.
Oh, it's just incredible.
Yeah.
What about some of those comics, those famous comics that would come over? George Lopez come by?
Oh, and of course, Kenny G. Kenny G would come by the club
Yeah.
Right.
when he didn't play, but he would hang out.
Yeah.
Because he knew Joe would be there.
Oh, man.
Yeah, Kenny came a couple times, took us out to dinner.
Oh, and that's the last time one of the last times we met with him at Cafe 290 is when Joe asked him to do the part on the song Go Getta.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I have
He said,
pictures from
sure.
And you were saying George Lopez would drop in He dropped in once.
All the I'll let John speak on this, but all those comedians would do the Punchline and then come hang with him.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, like George Lopez. Actually, he sang one night at Cafe 290. It was a great show. It's just so many people.
Dom,
Richard,
Dom Herrera.
Dom Herrera. You remember Dom?
Yeah, because he was at the Punchline often.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He's a great comedian and great friend.
Yeah,
And,
really.
Lowell Sanders, who now opens up for Tim Allen. Mm-hmm. They were just in town at the
Common
Oh,
Energy Center.
yeah,
Energy
yeah,
Center, right.
yeah.
Jackie Mason, right?
Jackie Mason.
He was there.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Jackie hung out with me for an entire week.
Get out of here.
He was in town doing a show at the Comedy Club for his opening Broadway show. Mm-hmm. So he was trying material out at several clubs across the country to get material for his show on Broadway. So the very first night he was there, I happened to meet him, and we hung out every night.
You guys hit it off.
Oh yeah, I mean he did a whole week at the Punchline from Sunday to the following Sunday, and we would hang out at the Ritz-Carlton. We didn't hang out at Cafe 290.
Right.
Just having a ball.
Gosh, that's a legend right there.
Oh,
Legends
I'm telling you.
came through 290.
And there's Cedric the Entertainer. Mm-hmm. He appeared one night. I mean, he came in as a guest,
Yeah.
but then he did a show.
He got up on stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, that was with who was that with? It was with Kipper. Mm-hmm. He did a show with Kipper, and then they got me up on stage to sing with them. I mean, it was just quite a ball. There's just been so many. Chris Tucker, Jamie Foxx, just after he made the movie Ray, came in
He did.
to hang out with a couple of his friends in the sports bar. And then he said, in fact, I was playing pool with him, and he said, "Hey, John, I think I'm going to go back and sit in with the band." It was a Sunday night jazz jam.
Yeah.
And he said, "I'll just do one tune." He stayed on stage for an hour. And it was amazing.
Wow.
What about Michael Jackson's father? Didn't he come in?
Yeah, Joe Jackson.
Did he?
Right. Yeah, Joe Jackson hung out with me.
What was he like?
Actually, he was a real nice guy.
Yeah.
And in fact, he had just moved to Las Vegas and said, if you ever get to Las Vegas, don't pay for a motel room. Give me a call. Give me a hotel room. Give me a call. Stay at my place. It's really big. I said, okay, but I never did.
Take my place. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Wow. What would you like for people to remember about 290? I mean, it must be the longest running music club, or must have been.
You mean in Atlanta?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it very well could have been. I don't know. Like, I never did the math on all that, but it's just legendary. And it's like he's mentioning all these people that were there. So there's people all over the world that have been to that club, heard about that club. Kind of where I learned to play, or at least be an entertainer.
It just has so much history. And I did a few different things too. I did a talent show for years called Who's Got That Vibe? I think Joe was a judge several times. Mm-hmm. And with Carol O, she used to be a writer for BRE magazine, Black Radio Entertainment. Mm-hmm. And she ran the show for me, was the MC, and brought in the judges and the talent. And that was a great experience. Tony Terry was the MC. Do you remember Tony Terry?
Yeah, absolutely.
When I'm with you. Remember his song?
He's singing, folks.
So that was a lot of fun, and
Yeah.
we did that for quite a few years.
There's no one else to compare. The sight of you leaves me weak. The sight of you leaves there are no words left to speak. No words, no words. But if you feel like I feel, please let me know that it's real.
Did you produce a movie there?
We did a movie, yeah, we
Yeah.
sure did.
Or a music video too. Wasn't there a music video that was filmed there too?
We've done music videos.
Yeah.
We've done movies.
Yeah.
Tell us about the movie.
Yeah. I remember some of the performers coming through.
Well, did you? Were you there while we were filming?
A little bit. I was there for a little of the production. I remember
Right.
working. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
murder mystery, and it was a great experience. Didn't win an Academy Award or anything, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Did you two go to the Grammys?
We had tickets. I ended up not going. Johnny went.
Yeah, I
Okay.
went. I'm a Grammy voter,
Oh, you are?
Right.
Okay.
so I'd get the opportunity to go every year.
I see. I
we
see.
were trying to get that Live at Cafe 290, that record. We were trying to get somehow nominated at least for a Grammy, and we got through the first or second round.
We did.
So we got all excited.
Right.
You know, we didn't expect to win, but if we could be nominated,
Right.
that would be huge.
Well, just a nomination is.
So we joined we were so excited about that, and we got the thing in the mail with all the listed groups that were involved. And
Yeah.
wasn't there like 10 groups? We got it down to like 10, and it was Tony Bennett.
Yeah, we were right in the
Really?
mix.
Where
We
was
were-
our name?
Yeah,
You know?
right in the mix with Tony Bennett and all these other great artists.
Oh, I was picking out suits, what color tie I was going to wear. I was ready. Johnny, what kind of Rolls Royce should I buy
Yeah,
when I'm in this Grammy?
What kind of limo should we take?
And so what then they notify you that
Yeah,
weren't
that you're
moving
in the
forward?
running, and then the next round,
yeah.
you're still in or you're not. And
Yeah.
and I don't necessarily think they notified me to say that you're not in anymore. You just got the next one, and you
Yeah.
see your name's not on it anymore. So
Yeah.
Got the picture.
yeah.
That's an experience. Not everyone can say,
Oh,
It was
they
pretty
were in the
cool.
running.
It was pretty cool for sure.
yeah, that was
Wow.
That would have changed our lives.
that was an exciting moment. That's
Yeah.
You could have put in new rugs,
right.
fixed a couple lights. Yeah, that would have been a real thrill. But you ended up going like 2 or 3 years in a row. You'd go to the Grammy Awards, right?
Sure. I went up all the way till the pandemic,
Did you really? Wow.
and I haven't
didn't
gone
know
since
that.
the pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah. What kind of experience was that?
Oh, it's an incredible experience because you get the red carpet treatment. Mm-hmm. Get a chance to meet all the
Different
nominees
artists.
and so forth, and then they have a dinner after the show, and that's an incredible thing.
Right. Right.
It's just a very exciting situation.
Well, you were living a life.
Oh, it was a good life.
We went to, thanks to the weekly Cafe 290 gig, the bi-weekly gig, we started getting momentum in the kind of the jazz scene in
Right.
the country, and the Blue Note invited us to come to New York City. So we went to the Blue Note 4 or 5 years in a row. And one of those years, Johnny and I stuck around a day or two afterwards. The band went home, and we went out to Sparks Steakhouse, famous steakhouse.
Yeah.
It's the steakhouse where Paul Castellano was unfortunately murdered.
Paul
Okay.
Castellano. We're standing right at the spot.
Yeah, Johnny wears his Italian clothes and his Italian shoes, and he's dressed up looking like $1 million. And I look like an idiot, jeans and a sport coat or something. But we go in there, and the maitre d' and the people that work there, a few of them were older men,
Yeah.
like they had been working there since the 1970s or something. And they came running over to Johnny. They swore they knew him, and he was in one of the families.
Oh,
and-
man. They
and
thought you were connected.
Oh, we got the best table. And Johnny's playing along. Hey, how you doing? Hey, we're a little hungry. We got the best table. We got wine. They bring wine over. Johnny's trying to introduce me to them. They could care less who I am. They just want to know, Johnny, you haven't been around for a while. That was classic, man.
Oh, that was.
That was classic.
So you never let them know. You just went
No,
played
we,
it.
we kept playing along. We got the best table, the best steaks,
Yeah. It was
Oh,
best
my
service.
gosh.
it was fantastic, man.
That was amazing.
Yep. He's a character.
I
Scatina's a
know.
character. The other thing about 290 is that when people would come to the club, unlike a lot of clubs, they knew they would see the owner.
Yeah.
They knew they would see the
Right.
face of the club.
Right.
And they couldn't wait.
That's true. Everyone wanted to, let you know that let me know or other staff know that they know John.
Yep. And he had his little table in the back in the sports bar, and don't sit at that table if you're not invited.
No, in the center with your friends.
Yeah, and he'd have those 3 TVs. I mean, even 3 years ago, and the TVs are from like 1983.
Well, he upgraded them, but they still were probably from
Right.
past times.
Yeah. But that was special.
Yeah.
They knew they would come in and see him. Everybody would want a picture with him.
Yep.
And he'd spend as much time as he could with everybody.
Right.
It was exciting.
Yeah, it was.
And you probably almost never missed a night.
I don't think I ever missed a night.
Yeah, it was rare.
I think the only night I missed was when I went to the Grammys.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was always there.
Yeah.
And in its heyday, pre-pandemic, you open every night? I forget.
Yes, every night.
Every single night of the week.
And had, a lot of great music
Yeah.
during the week.
When I was working there, I worked on Wednesdays and Thursdays.
You did?
Yeah. Made good money. Yep.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sherelle used to hang out with us.
Yeah.
The girl that used to do my door.
Yeah.
Sherelle.
Yeah.
Yes. I'd like to track her down. She moved to she got married and moved to
Japan.
Japan. Yeah. So you mentioned the Blue Note. I thought I saw recently that you posted on social media, maybe I'm wrong, that you performed there recently. You did not, or?
Most recently, we went to Lincoln Center.
Okay.
And we played at a beautiful club at Lincoln Center called Dizzy's Jazz Club.
Right, okay.
Blue Note we did, like maybe, I'm guessing, but I think 2014, 15, 16 is 17. Or kind of right up to the pandemic. Maybe it was 16 through. And then we haven't been back since.
Okay.
Then we got this invitation to play at Lincoln Center at Dizzy's. And I said, man, let's just go. Let's get the band together and just fly up to New York. What an experience. The most incredible jazz club, Dizzy's. They treated us like rock stars there. We stayed right around the corner in this beautiful hotel. It was a thrill. Everybody had a good time.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll go back next summer.
That's wonderful. And I do remember with the Blue Note talking to you one time about how people from Atlanta would go to New York.
Yeah, same thing happened at Dizzy's. So we'll be sure 4 or 5 months before to start promoting it, and we'll get anywhere from 15 to 35 people will come from Atlanta and take a trip to New York City.
Great experience.
Yeah.
Come to the show. When we used to go to the Blue Note, hopefully we'll go back to the Blue Note at some point soon. But Johnny would set up a dinner in Little Italy, and anybody that came from Atlanta or anybody that was kind of in the know would join us, and we might have 30 people at one of these famous Italian restaurants in Little Italy. We've got wonderful photos. We went to Patsy's.
Yeah, Patsy's was Frank Sinatra's favorite restaurant. And he was like part of the family, Sinatra. Of course, as a result of that, all the other great artists go there, Tony Bennett and major movie stars and so forth and so on. We went to Patsy's and we rented the Sinatra room, or they gave us the Sinatra room.
Yeah.
Which was incredible. I think it held about 30 people, and we filled it. Then the question is, who was going to sit at Sinatra's table? And then who was going to sit in Sinatra's seat?
Oh, gosh. Oh, man.
That was me.
Yeah.
The guy even came over. He said, that's exactly where Sinatra would sit. Wow, man. That's crazy. And he brought us, I forget what it was, but he brought us the hors d'oeuvres that Sinatra would want every time he would come in.
Yeah.
It was kind of, it was really exciting. Really exciting. And then 10 o'clock came when they closed, and they were like, all right, out.
Show's over.
Show's over.
Wow.
But that was exciting. But all those great experiences are all really because of the club, Cafe
Right,
290,
exactly.
and the momentum we were able to build over the years, and where these venues wanted to have us come perform. And quite a special place.
Yeah.
And going back to a lot of the success has to do with the people that worked for you, like Gary Harris on sound. I mean, the guy was not only a great sax player, but a great musician as far as sound goes.
Right.
I mean, because you were going to have a big band playing for you, and Joe had all the responsibility of getting that all together. Now is a matter of sound.
Yeah.
And Gary just would go right to it, create that perfect sound.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, he's a special dude.
Yeah, he was with me for all those years.
Mm-hmm. And he was the Sunday night also.
He also did
which was
Sunday
a big night.
Jazz Jam.
Yeah. Do you remember how that started? Because that was the biggest night of the week, and when you played, those were, even though Friday and Saturday were busy, Sunday and Monday when you would perform, Joe, those were really big nights.
Yeah, they went from that era and into the Melvin Miller took over.
Yes.
Well, he had it for years. Yeah.
He had it for years.
Yeah.
And then Gary took it over from there
Yeah.
and had it for years.
Yeah, that Sunday night jam session at 290 is legendary. Al Smith, right? Didn't Al do it too?
Al Smith did it too.
Yeah, classic.
Wow. Well, thank you so much.
Our pleasure.
What a treat.
Oh, you're very welcome.
It's good to be bringing up these memories. It's good to have Johnny talk about them because he forgets things.
Yes.
It's coming back, though. It's coming
Slowly.
back. He's like, I'm ready now.
We just to do it real quickie. I'll make this short. We were in Carmel.
Yeah.
And staying at Clint Eastwood's ranch, the Mission
Ranch. Yeah.
Mission Ranch. Actually, it's the first time I met him. I think.
Yeah.
Was there, and we're sitting at his table. Remember the comedian was with us, Tom Dreesen.
Yeah.
Tom Dreesen, who used to open for Sinatra. He was Clint's best friend, and he was there too. And we were all sitting at the table in Clint's club at the Mission Ranch.
Yeah.
And I had just bought a new camera for Cafe 290, one of those digital cameras, and we're sitting there, and I said, "Hey Joe, you think Clint would like to take a picture?" He said, "Well, I don't know. He doesn't like to do pictures." And he said, "Ask Tom Dreesen." So I asked Tom, and I said, "Do you think we can get a picture?" And he said, I don't see why not. Hey, Clint. So he asked Clint, "Yeah, it'll be okay." So to make a long story short,
Please.
the camera wouldn't work.
Jesus.
The camera wouldn't work.
Oh, no.
And we just, it just wouldn't work.
Right.
And finally I gave up, and I said, "I'll be back." And I went outside and tried to get it to work again. I thought I had it working. I came back in. And Clint looked over to Joe and he said, "Johnny's not going to try to take another picture, is he?"
Yeah.
And it was so funny. And Clint was such a really, I mean, he was a good sport about it.
Yeah.
He said, "Let me see that camera." And we still never got a picture. And so Tom Dreesen, one of his great lines was, "I can see the headlines tomorrow in a Carmel newspaper. Jazz club owner from Atlanta." How do you say jazz club owner from Atlanta?
Nervous breakdown. Or
Dies of a heart attack or something.
Trying to get his camera to work.
He couldn't get a picture. It was very funny the way he put it.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you did get one, though.
We did get one.
At your club.
Right.
Yeah, we got a bunch there. Clint doesn't mind pictures, but at the Mission Ranch, that's his place, and it's kind
Right.
of his time to be
Yeah.
to be with his friends and all that. And he doesn't mind. Plenty of people take pictures, but it was hilarious. He had this, $2,000 camera he bought, and he couldn't get the thing to work. That was funny. Clint came to Atlanta. "How's the cameraman?" "You mean Johnny?" "Yeah." Yeah. But he loved Cafe 290, man. He really
Yeah.
did. He had a good time there.
Well, it has a vibe. Had a vibe. I keep talking about it in present tense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sure did.
Before we close, I want to know if you can let people know how to get in touch with you if they would like to. Like
Don's cell phone number is 404.
Well, Joe's completely on Facebook.
Yeah, I have a website, joegransden.com and Gransden. And I'm on all those social media platforms and Facebook and all that. John, do you do any of that? Do you do Facebook or?
No, I never did. I was too busy.
If anybody wants to get in touch with John, you can email me at my website, and I'll make sure he gets the message
All right.
for sure.
That works.
And he's doing a show on New Year's Eve
Yeah, we'll be across the street from where Cafe 290 was. We'll be at the Sandy Springs Performing Arts Center New Year's Eve, my 16-piece orchestra, and our guest is the great Francine Reed,
Wow.
who also was our guest at Cafe 290 many times.
Yes. And you two did New Year's Eve before the pandemic, like, what was it, 17, 18?
We did, I think, 19.
19.
With the Atlanta Symphony. Francine and I got to perform with the symphony upstairs in the Byers Theater, the large theater. And then when it was over, guests that had purchased an extra ticket, like an after party ticket, went down to the studio theater, and my big band played until midnight with Francine.
Oh, gosh.
And that was really great.
Yeah.
So this particular New Year's Eve, it'll be my big band with Francine, and then the after party, we're still working on how that's going to work out, but it's going to be quite a night.
He's doing quite a few shows with the great Robin Lattimore, too. She's
Sure. Robin. I met Robin through John, because Robin is a big Cafe 290.
Yes.
In fact, you're going to be interviewing her soon.
I am. Very
that's
soon.
right. Forgot about that.
She's a great friend, and she works quite often with my big band.
Yeah.
We were at 290, and Johnny said to me, hey, Robin Lattimore's here. You should have her sing a song. And Robin and I knew each other just vaguely from being on the music scene, but we had never worked together. So I said, Robin, you want to sing a tune? She said, yeah. So she came up and blew the walls off the place.
She's a big favorite, too,
Yeah.
at 290, yeah.
So after that happened, it was like, well, I know who to hire. You know, I mean, there's only a few people that have that kind of power when they sing and that kind of stage presence, you know.
Right.
Of course, Francine's one of them.
Yeah.
Francine now lives in Arizona, so it's great when she comes back to town. But
Yeah.
Robin's here, living here locally, so when we go out on the road or do something special, whether it's my quartet or my quintet or my big band, and I want to have a female artist, a female vocalist, I go right to Robin usually.
Santa baby, put a sable under the tree for me. I've been an awful good girl. Santa baby, hurry down the chimney tonight. Santa honey, I really want a convertible too, light blue. I'll wait up for you, dear Santa honey. Just hurry down the chimney tonight.
Yeah, and the other group that, I don't know if you ever saw them or not, this was the other group that played on Monday night. A lot of musicians have also playing Joe's band.
Tell me the name, because
Bumpin' the Mango.
Yes, I've written about them. Bumpin' the Mango. Yeah.
Right. With great guys, Kevin Lyons, Paul Garrett, Ian on lead vocals, and that show was a big hit.
Right. It was really popular. Where do they play now?
I don't know, but they're I'm sure their website's still up and running. And I mean, you know, that's the thing that's weird. Our home base is gone. You know, you always knew you could catch us there, or you could catch Mango there, or Kipper Jones, or whoever, Reggie. And if you wanted to hire them for a party or hire, you know, you just go to Cafe 290.
Yeah.
You know, when's Joe back? When's Mango back? So it's a horrifying thing to lose that at home. You know.
Yeah. Well, thank you, guys.
Well, thank you,
appreciate
Adrian.
it.
We appreciate it.
Thank you very
Brings
much.
back a lot of great memories.
It does. Amanda said that everyone who was at Cafe 290 at the end has moved on and they are thriving. She says our small little Cafe 290 family is doing well. And then what she shares is so poignant. Amanda says, I remember when I left the building for the last time, I wasn't planning on making a statement on social media or saying anything to anyone, she says. But what happened when she was leaving, she glanced at the stage and snapped a picture of the microphone and chords laid out on the stage. The spotlight still on, Amanda says, the red curtain. And she says, it all kind of hit me at once. I began to write a goodbye, Amanda says. It was shared quite a bit and tons of comments poured into social media. It was hard for me to deal with, Amanda says. She woke up the next day and she had 300 text messages on her phone. I don't even know that many people, Amanda says. I think what was hardest for me was that we tried everything to keep 290 open. We streamlined the menus. Our employees, including Mo and I, worked only for tips, she says, not getting any hourly pay. We did tons of social media and advertising, begging people to come out and keep the music alive, keep 290 going. And it just didn't happen. She says, I think it made me angry to get all the messages when it was finally over because Amanda says, I wanted to scream, where have you all been the last year? It was frustrating to see this classic institution of a club slowly die, she says, and I went through the stages of grief. Amanda says, I got mad, I bargained, I was sad, all of it. And she says, bless Mo's heart because her emotions were changing quickly and often. Cafe 290 was still a huge part of my life, Amanda says. I grew up there. She adds, I started working there at 21, and when it closed, I was 45. Amanda says, my entire adult life was spent there, for it was close to my heart. Just sitting down today and answering these few questions has brought back so many emotions and so many memories. Some are great and some are frustrating, but I choose to focus on the good things that came out of 290 Hildebrand. And I am so grateful to Amanda for sharing these things. So as I say, there is more to come in this love letter to Cafe 290.
You'll take a big chance, you'll even try to dance when you fall in love. Hey, the music will play, your body's gonna sway when you fall in love. There's no better time, you're drinking fine wine when you fall in love. You're on gossamer's wing, your heart's gonna sing. It's a beautiful thing.